Hello and welcome back to another Football Commentaries live stream. It is the 32nd ever Premier League meeting between Arsenal and Crystal Palace, as this episode of the fixture could see Liverpool crowned champions if Palace take all 3 points from the Emirates Stadium tonight. Arsenal are looking to secure a third successive second place finish in the league, as Liverpool are just edging them out of a title, one they are waiting for since 2004. But silverware is still available for the Gunners, as a heroic win at Real Madrid and at home against them in the Champions League last day mean they have PSG in the semi-finals coming up next week and into early May. Palace have slightly fell off the pace towards the end of this season, as they have won just one of their last five, and in their last two defeats in the league away from home have been against Newcastle and Manchester City, where combined they've conceded 10 goals. The Eagles currently sit 12th, but are only 5 points off 8th position, which could still end up being a European spot come the end of the season. In the reverse fixture at Selhurst Park, it was an Arsenal win, and they took the derby bragging rights. It was a 5-1 thumping back in late December, and just 3 days after that game, Arsenal also beat Palace at home in the League Cup quarter-final stage with a 3-2 win, and that was all down to a hat-trick scored from currently injured Gabriel Jesus. With the Premier League title on the line, can Arsenal keep the fight alive, or will Palace do Liverpool a favour and win to gain Arne Slot's team the Premier League title? I don't really see Arsenal slipping up and losing tonight, because that's what it would have to take for Liverpool to win the league. It would mean Palace take all 3 points, and you can already kind of sense from the Palace starting 11 that they've got a little bit of their focus on the game at the weekend when they take on Aston Villa in the FA Cup semi-final. And that's understandable. Yes, there is that European spot potentially available if they can get themselves into 8th position, but they're currently 12th. And at the end of the day, I'm sure if you offered Crystal Palace an FA Cup or a place in the Conference League, I am pretty sure they would lean towards the FA Cup title. They've never won the FA Cup. They've actually never won the League Cup as well, and they've never won the first division in their history. They've got 2 second-tier titles. The last one they won was in 1994, and they've also got 1 third-tier title, which they won back in 1921. So in terms of cups and domestic cups, they've not won any. They have reached 2 FA Cup finals in their history, and in both of them they lost to Manchester United in 2016 and also in 1990. That one did go to a replay in 1990, but they were beaten by the Red Devils. So there was a little bit of focus on that FA Cup semi-final for Palace, but they'll still want to come here to the Emirates and try and get a win over their London rivals, and especially just a little bit of revenge on the defeat they picked up against them earlier on in the season at Selhurst Park in the Premier League. A 5-1 win for Arsenal that day. Gabriel Jesus scoring twice in that game, making it 1-0, and then also putting Arsenal back in the lead at 2-1 in the 15th minute after Ismaila Sarr scored for Palace in the 11th minute, and then further goals from Havertz, Martinelli and Rice added up the 5 goals for Arsenal that day. And then literally 3 days later, they faced off in the 3 days before that, they faced off in the League Cup quarter-final stage, and Jesus scoring again. He got a hat-trick, 54th minute, 73rd minute and 81st minute, and they were sandwiched in between the 2 Palace goals when Mateta gave them the lead in the 4th minute, and Nketiah, against his former side, scored in the 85th minute. But it's a completely different focus now, where probably both teams have got their sights elsewhere. Arsenal probably focusing more on the PSG game they've got coming up in 6 days' time, and then for Crystal Palace they've got Aston Villa in the semi-final of the FA Cup on Saturday. So it's a little bit of a strange one, really, that yes, this game is important in terms of the Premier League for points for both teams, because Arsenal want to get themselves that second place position and just delay that title for Liverpool. And then for Crystal Palace, like I say, just 4 points off the European spots as it stands, if I am not mistaken. Yeah, 5 points off 8th. So it's well in their sights to get that 8th position, but obviously they've just got to go and leapfrog quite a few teams to get there. So it's a 5-point gap to Bournemouth for Crystal Palace, but like I say, I'm 99% sure that their main focus will be on the weekend and trying to get through to a 3rd FA Cup final in their history. Both sets of teams now in the tunnel, just waiting to walk onto the turf of the Emirates Stadium. Opened in 2006, not seen a Premier League lifted yet at this ground. They've come close the last 2 seasons with Manchester City, and it looks like they're going to finish second best again here, this time to Liverpool for the 2024-2025 season. You feel like that Premier League title is around the corner for the Gunners, but it feels like every step they take towards turning that corner, the street and that path just gets a bit longer every time. The one season City go off the boil, it's then Liverpool under a new manager of Arne Slot. They then kind of take over the reins and they become slightly dominant. So it's just like Arsenal can't quite catch a break at the moment. But like I said, that Champions League is on, and that is something they haven't won before. Arsenal, they have won a Cup Winners' Cup in '94, but never won a Champions League, as both sets of teams are being led out by the captains, Martin Ødegaard and former Chelsea man Mark Gay. As it's a London derby at the end of the day, focus might be elsewhere in the back of the players' minds in terms of Champions League and FA Cup games coming up, but there is still a task at hand, and there is London bragging rights available for the two teams, as Arsenal have won 6 in a row in this fixture against Crystal Palace, 5 of them Premier League, and then 1 of them, of course, in that League Cup quarter-final back in December. And for Crystal Palace, they've won 1 of their last 12 against Arsenal, and that was back in a 3-0 home win in April 2022. As we'll go through both sets of starting 11s now, we'll start with Arsenal, and it's David Raya in goal, looking to keep his 49th ever Premier League clean sheet, coming up towards half a century. And a back 4 at right back is Jurrien Timber, who's making his 49th appearance for Arsenal. 46 of them have come in his second season at the club. At left back will be the 18-year-old Miles Lewis Skelly, who's already got an England goal, and that was on his debut against Albania. And the 2 centre-backs are William Saliba, who's coming up towards a century of appearances in the Premier League. He's on 97 for tonight. And next to him is Polish international Jakub Kiwior, who started the last 4 games now in a row for Arsenal in the Premier League. And the 3 midfield, Thomas Partey will sit, and in front of him to the right will be Declan Rice, who's got 19 Premier League goals in his career, 1 of them this season, away at Crystal Palace. And the captain, of course, will be playing, and that is Martin Ødegaard. Just the 2 league goals so far this season, 1 of them against London opposition, and that was away against West Ham. And loanee Raheem Sterling will start on the right-hand side on loan this season from Chelsea. He's looking for his 175th club career goal. On the left will be Gabriel Martinelli, who's got 6 in 9 against Crystal Palace and 5 in his last 5 against them in the Premier League. And it looks like leading the line up front, making his 50th appearance of the season, and that is Leandro Trossard. He's on 9 goals in all competitions, 7 of them in the Premier League, with 3 in his last 3. So that is the Arsenal starting 11. And for Crystal Palace, they make 4 changes from that 0-0 draw at the weekend against Bournemouth. And it's Dean Henderson to remain in goal. And in 4 changes, Chris Richards was sent off against Bournemouth, so Jefferson Lerma deputises at right centre-back. And alongside him in that back 3 will be Maxence Lacroix, who was brought in for just over £15 million from Wolfsburg. And the captain, of course, Mark Gay, is in 3 league goals for him. His last was away against Leicester back in mid-January. 2 wing-backs on the right will be Daniel Munoz, who signed a new contract with the club this month. On the left-hand side will be Tyreek Mitchell, who did make 2 appearances for England back in March 2022. 2 central midfielders of Adam Wharton, who's got a lot of interest in him from the top Premier League clubs, and he'll feature alongside Daichi Kamada, who they brought in on a free from Lazio. He'd previously worked under Glasner at Eintracht Frankfurt. And then 3 up front on the right-hand side will be Justin Devenny, the Northern Irish winger, who's making his 25th Crystal Palace senior appearance, and all of them have come this season. On the left is Ereberi Eze, who spent 5 years coming through at Arsenal, leaving in 2011, and if he scores tonight, he'll be his 30th career Premier League goal. And another former Arsenal man leading the line, sold for £30 million to Palace, and that's Eddie Nketiah, who's only on 1 Premier League goal so far this season, and that was in a 4-1 home win against Aston Villa at the end of February. And he's going to try and prove his worth and maybe look to try and get a spot in the starting 11 for the FA Cup semi-final, but he does have Jean-Philippe Mateta to battle out with for that starting spot. So it will be Crystal Palace to kick us off, kicking right to left Arsenal left to right. Dean Henderson thumping the ball towards the edge of the Arsenal box. It's headed down by Kivior, and he has to kick it away with his right boot as it came off the back of Miles Lewis-Skelly. Sterling's battling. Gay heads away out towards the Palace left, where it'll be Timber to get there ahead of Ezer. It's now Saliba just on the edge of the 18-yard box. Lays it off for Timber. He tries to clear it down the line. It gets through. Cut out, though, by Mitchell. It's now Kamada into the middle for Wharton. Midway inside the Arsenal half. Works it back out wide to Gay. Then down the line for Mitchell. In towards the central area. It's intercepted well there by Declan Rice. That's now on the edge of the area with Jakub Kivior. And it's Arsenal in possession after a little bit of a progressive start there from Crystal Palace. Not exactly getting into the Arsenal 18-yard box, but just giving them something to worry about early on. Just having to be as compact as possible just to see through the first minute of the game. And it is the number 2 William Saliba on the ball, who's played Crystal Palace 5 times in his career, and he's won all 5. He's an absolute Rolls Royce of a defender. I'm a big fan of William Saliba, who played every minute in that Champions League quarter-final against Real Madrid, and whenever he's available, he does play William Saliba. He is a fantastic centre-back who they signed in July 2019 from St Etienne, but he went on a couple of loan spells back to France until breaking into the Arsenal first team a couple of seasons ago now. It's still Arsenal in the Arsenal half on the ball, minute and a half in, still 0-0. Jakub Kivior going high and long down the left-hand side, something for Martinelli to chase, who can control it, keeps it away from Lerma, goes down over the challenger, the Colombian. And that's seen as a free kick from tonight's referee, which is Michael Salisbury. 40-year-old former PE teacher, Michael Salisbury. Started as a Premier League referee in the 21-22 season. And in that season, Arsenal finished 5th and Crystal Palace finished 12th. And for Arsenal, the 2 seasons after that, they finished 2nd, and it looks like for a 3rd time in a row, they're going to finish 2nd again in the Premier League, the Gunners, who did go 6 seasons without finishing in the top 4 between 2016 and 2022. So, you know, it's a huge improvement since Arteta's kind of settled into his role as the Arsenal manager. Been in charge since December 2019. As from the far side, it will be an Arsenal free kick taken by Ødegaard, whipped into the 18-yard box, headed on by Kivior and into the back of the net. He's had to come in to the starting 11 and fill some big shoes with the absence of Gabriel. But he is really showing his worth here. In this stretch of games, he's had to play for Arsenal, and he scores his first goal of the season. Seemed to have been alone to head that ball in, Jakub Kivior. They started towards the far post there, the Arsenal players, and drifted along into a more central area. And he was on the front man of Nketiah. And the Palace striker just was nowhere near him. So was Devaney, nowhere near him. And it's a free header for Kivior, who directs it to the left side of the goal. Dean Henderson left rooted to the spot. Didn't even attempt to dive for it. And it's a fantastic start for Arsenal. They lead 1-0. And it's their Polish centre-back, Jakub Kivior, with the goal. That is really, really poor defending that from Crystal Palace. Justin Devaney and Eddie Nketiah getting nowhere near Jakub Kivior as Munoz goes down in the right wing position here for Crystal Palace. And that'll be a free kick for the Eagles. And that's Jakub Kivior's first goal in over a year. His last goal was against Newcastle on the 24th of February in a home victory at the Emirates. And like I say, it's not an easy player to replace the injured Gabriel, but he's really settling in to this starting role. The 25-year-old centre-half brought in just over 2 years ago now from Spezia for just over £20 million. And he might have to do some defending here, as it is Crystal Palace with the free kick, wanting to respond as quickly as possible. Ball goes in from Wharton, headed away by the goal scorer Kivior. Up towards Munoz on the Palace left, battling with Timber, who goes down softly, and it's Kamada to take over. Into Munoz, who is tackled by Partey, kicked out for a corner. Palace ball. 4.5 minutes in. Arsenal 1, Palace 0. Jakub Kivior with the goal. Left alone from a free kick. And it was easily headed in from the number 15, Ødegaard, assisting with the delivery. Less than 5 minutes in. Can Palace respond quickly? They have not done very well in their last couple of away games in the league. It's into the near post, headed away by Rice. And it'll drop out here for Tyrick Mitchell, who takes the touch, clips it back towards the far post towards Munoz. Might be offside. Play continues as he hooks it across, but it's caught by Raya, who's going to go for a big throw down the Arsenal left. And it's found Martinelli perfectly, and the break is on. He's got Sterling to his right. He's going to try and take on Tyrick Mitchell into the box. The angle's tight. Can't quite keep it in, just overruns it there. Gabriel Martinelli, good defending there from Tyrick Mitchell, but it's brilliant forward thinking there from David Raya, who was able to collect the Munoz ball across and quickly set off Gabriel Martinelli, who's on the 7 league goals this season. The Brazilian scored in the last game against Ipswich at the weekend, and that was his first goal in the league since Aston Villa at home back on the 18th of January. Of course, he scored in that game away at Real Madrid in the second leg of the quarter-final. But in terms of the Premier League, it kind of ended a bit of a dry spell for their number 11, as it's Palace on the ball. Just inside their own half here with Daichi Kamada. Was with Glasner at Frankfurt when they won the Europa League back in 2022. And he's on the ball here, the Japanese international on the halfway line. Took a while to settle in at Crystal Palace. Not quite sure of his capabilities, the Palace fans, at the moment. As Jefferson Lerma goes for a crossfield ball, which is cut out by Raheem Sterling. And it's now with Thomas Partey just inside the centre circle for Arsenal. Plays it to the left to Lewis Skelly, who starts again with Kivior, and it's now across to his centre-back partner of William Saliba. As Arsenal have won 10 of their 16 home Premier League games, as Ødegaard gives it away. Devaney, 30 yards out, clips it into the box towards Nketiah, deflects to him, bouncing away from the 18-yard box. He shields it away from Kivior and lays it out to the right to Munoz. Ball delivered into this penalty spot where Eze heads on, and he goes to the far post where it'll be kept alive here by Gate, who can turn away from Trossard. He goes down over the challenge of the Belgian. Nothing given by the referee, and the ball across deflects off Timber, not cleared by Sterling. Kamada with the shot, which deflects just wide of the far post. And it's a chaotic 30 seconds there at the Emirates Stadium, all from a needlessly given away ball from Martin Ødegaard. And Palace tried to pounce, but couldn't quite get the shot on target. Gay went over the challenge of Trossard. Referee didn't give anything, so he got back up and tried to get the ball across. Came off Timber, poor clearance from Sterling. Chested down by Kamada and almost found the bottom right corner. Took a slight nick on the way through. And that will be a Crystal Palace corner again. They've responded well since going 1-0 down. And again, very sloppily going 1-0 down with the poor marking from the Arsenal free kick, which allowed Kivior to have a free header into the left-hand side of the goal. It's going to be an in-swinger from the left boot of Adam Wharton into a central area, and it's headed on and just wide on the 6-yard line. Eddie Nketiah got up the highest, but couldn't quite direct it on target. He has already scored against his former club this season, Eddie Nketiah, at the Emirates in that 3-2 defeat in the League Cup semi-final for the Eagles. As Arsenal play out from the back, just over 8 minutes in at the Emirates, and it's 1-0 to Arsenal, who have won their last 5 Premier League games against Palace, netting exactly 5 goals in the last 2 of them. 5-1 away at Palace in December, and then at the back end of last season, they also beat them 5-0 at home with 2 goals from Gabriel, and then 2 late goals from Martinelli, and sandwiched in between them 2 goals from each of them was a Trossard goal on the hour mark. Lewis Skelly just almost inverting into a central midfield position. Has to go to Timber, into Lewis Skelly again, who is tackled by Kamada, but referee sees it as a foul. Free kick for Arsenal, midway inside their own half, almost caught out there. Miles Lewis Skelly scored on his England debut against Albania, part of Thomas Tuchel's first England squad. He's got the 1 Premier League goal, and that was in the big win at home to Manchester City, as Ødegaard tries to slip it through towards Martinelli, cut out by Munoz, but Lewis finds Rice on the edge of the area. Declan Rice tries to play it through for Martinelli, poked away by Munoz. Rice it falls back to, and he just drills a ball towards the bottom left corner, just wide of the post from Declan Rice, and it remains 1-0. He is on 7 goals in all competitions this season. Declan Rice, of course, those 2 famous free kicks recently against Real Madrid added to that tally. He's got 2 in the Premier League, one of them in that away win against Crystal Palace in the league, and then also one in that draw away recently at Manchester United. But it's not been happy travelling for Palace in the last 2 away games in the Premier League. 5-2 loss against Manchester City, where they started really well in the first 20 or so minutes, taking a 2-0 lead, but then completely collapsed at the Etihad, and then also at the hands of Newcastle as well. A 5-0 defeat that was last week. They've definitely responded well from going behind, but it's just the going behind that's really frustrating and will be an annoyance to Oliver Glasner. They started really poorly this season, Crystal Palace. I mentioned this when I've commentated on them previously, but they won 0 of their first 8 Premier League games, drawing 3, losing 5, and they sat in 19th position by the 23rd of November, and then they went on a crazy run where they really picked up some form in the last couple of months. But just one win in their last 5, just slightly derailed their campaign in terms of a European push. And it's still with Arsenal on the ball. They're on the halfway line, everyone in front of him here for Jakub Kiwior. He'll play it to his right here to William Saliba, who's all alone in the centre circle, assessing his options. Playing a simple 5-yard pass to Partey. Moves it on to Kiwior on this far side for Arsenal. Quick 1-2 with Lewis Skelly. And that will do him the world of good in terms of confidence for Jakub Kiwior. Scoring just his 3rd Arsenal goal of his career. Still with Saliba in the centre circle. Goes to his right to Timber. One appearance now off half a century for Arsenal. Looks really good when he first joined and then did his ACL, which was a big blow for Arsenal as they try and feed it through to Sterling. Cut out by Gay. Tackled by Sterling from behind, but Mitchell beats Trossard to it, but then gives it away as Sterling presses once more. And it's now with Thomas Partey going back to the halfway line to Saliba. And Arsenal can rebuild from the back once again. Won 3 of their last 6 at home, Arsenal. Losing just the once, and that was to West Ham back in the middle of February. They have just lost 1 of their last 23 Premier League games, Arsenal, but just winning the 12, drawing 9. Very clear that is the story of Arsenal's season. Too many draws. They've won 18 this season and drawn 12. Only losing 3 times in the league, which is impressive on paper, but like you say, those draws have killed them massively in terms of that Premier League push to try and win a first title since 2004. As it's a Crystal Palace throwing in a right wing back position here. On the far side, it'll be the Colombian of Daniel Munoz to take. Sent off in the Copa America semi-final in the summer against Uruguay, so he missed the Copa America final for Colombia, and he will not want to be sent off at the weekend in the FA Cup semi-final, just in case Palace do make it to the final, which would be their first FA Cup final since 2016. As they're pulled to the ground in his own half, free kick for the Eagles, and they're quickly back underway with the ball with Mark Gay, who made his 150th appearance for Crystal Palace at the weekend in that 0-0 draw to Bournemouth as they go over the top. Look for Nketiah. He'll get there ahead of Raya on the angle. Nketiah gets it across towards Devaney. You can't quite beat Raya to it. And again, slight openings for Crystal Palace. It was a over-the-top through ball towards Nketiah from Eze, and he was onside. Brilliant vision and a good run. Raya thought about coming, then had to backtrack. And as the ball went across goal, it came off the boot of Devaney, which he just got away from him, which allowed Raya to jump onto the ball. Slight foot onto it by Kiwior, and then Devaney got the touch as well, but just sent him away from goal, and that's when Raya could pounce. 13 and a half minutes in, it's still Arsenal 1, Crystal Palace 0. As we come towards the end of the season now, just the 4 games left after this for both of these teams, as Lerma is pickpocketed by Martinelli, who's now on the corner flag for Arsenal in the attacking third, tries to take on Lerma, who shoves Martinelli off the ball and the last touch off the Brazilian. And it'll be a throw-in right next to that corner flag for Crystal Palace, who avoided 3 Premier League losses in a row at the weekend with that 0-0 draw. The last time they lost 3 in a row was this season, and it was on a run in September to October during that time when they were really struggling to pick up points. But they've turned it around and got themselves up towards the mid-table position. Yeah, with 10 men for pretty much the second half of the game. At the weekend, Crystal Palace, Chris Richards sent off in the first minute of added on time, and they failed to register a shot on target. At the weekend, Palace 5 shots, 0 on target, compared to Bournemouth's 15 shots, 4 on target, with 73% of the ball. So Palace did well to get a point out of that game against Bournemouth, who are going to be challenging them for that 8th spot, which a lot of teams are battling for. Big clearance away for Palace as they try and work it out from that throw in, controlled by Nketiah, helped forward by Devaney, who takes it off Partey into the Arsenal half. He's got Munoz to his right, went for Ezer instead in the middle, and it was cut out by Saliba. And it's Arsenal back on the ball, 15 minutes in, still 1-0 at the Emirates. Timber taking it beyond the halfway line. He's got Sterling to his right. Goes to Trossard instead, who's been a bit quiet in the opening 15 minutes, but he's not had to be very loud because his team have already got him ahead as his ball switched out towards Lewis Skelly. Just goes away from the young fullback, and that'll be a Crystal Palace throw in, already taken here to the right centre half of the back three. That's Jefferson Lerma linking up with his international teammate here, Munoz, and now to Dean Henderson, who's just won once in his career against Arsenal, and that was in his Sheffield United days when they were in the Premier League in the 2019-2020 season. Long ball forward, and Nketiah heads it out wide to the Palace left. He's going to have to sprint against Saliba, and he loses that battle. Really well defended there by Arsenal's number 2. Played every minute at the Euros for France as they reached the semi-final stage, but were knocked out, unfortunately, by the eventual winners of Spain. Saliba goes to his left here to Kivior. Taking his time on the ball as Palace just sit off for the moment. Got a back three and build up, and then it looks like a bit of a flat five in the midfield position for Arsenal as they play out from the back. Just an over 1 hour drive through London to get from the Emirates to Selhurst Park. 13 miles altogether. Bit further in terms of the distance between the Emirates and Anfield, just over 200 miles, where Liverpool will be watching, hoping Palace can win the game here. Even though they're behind, they have showed signs that they can hurt this Arsenal defence, potentially. Like I said, just one win in the last 5 for Palace, and that was against their rivals Brighton back at the start of the month as Munoz chests it in the area and clears it left-footed. Bit of a slicer out towards Sterling on the right-hand side, who will battle here with Mitchell to keep the ball. And he keeps it in there, Mitchell kicking it to Kamada. Now Ezer, back to Mitchell, into the middle for Wharton. First time ball forward, finding Devaney. Good ball that from Wharton. Devaney holds onto it nicely, then plays it into the path of Mitchell on this near side. Midway inside the Arsenal half, it's the Palace number 3 who goes into Kamada. Then back towards the halfway line to Gay. Across to Lacroix, former French under-20 international, the centre half. Lerma across to Gay, just outside the centre circle at the moment. Goes to his left here to Ezer, who's just slightly deep with the ball. The Palace number 10, who's got Sterling in front of him, trying to force him away from the Arsenal goal. Ezer going for a switch. It comes off the back of Martinelli's head. And it'll be kept in play by Lerma on the far side. It's now Munoz into Wharton. Everyone behind the ball for Arsenal, as they do understand Palace have got the players to score a goal. So they've got to give them respect and defend with all the concentration they've got as Mitchell goes for a cross into the 6-yard box, and it's easily caught there by David Raya, who rolls it out to Partey, then out to the left here to Declan Rice. Not many options around him, so slows the game down. And it's Arsenal on the ball in their own half as it is 18 minutes in, and it's Arsenal 1, Crystal Palace 0. And Palace did go on a bit of an unbeaten run against Arsenal away from home. There were 4 Premier League away games against Arsenal without a defeat between 2019 and 2021, with 1 win and 3 draws. But Crystal Palace have lost their last 2 league visits to the Emirates with an aggregate scoreline of 9-1. There's Kivior on the ball with at the halfway line stage. No pressure on him at the moment. Finds Saliba. It's now Partey, who takes it beyond the halfway line and plays it to his left there to Lewis Skelly. He's got one more pass onto his left to Martinelli if he wants to use the Brazilian. Decides to go back instead here to Kivior. It's now Lewis Skelly again. Saliba. Number 12 of Jurrien Timber. Spent 9 years at Ajax before jumping over to England to play for the Gunners as Kivior goes for a ball into the box. It's a lifted one to Trossard, who will battle here with Gay and Lerma, and it'll be the Palace defenders to deal with the Belgian, the former Brighton man, who they will not be fond of. And it'll be Munoz to bring it away. Into the space here for Devaney. That's a brilliant ball. And Munoz has carried on his run. And he'll feed him back through. Munoz slides it across. It's clipped away by Saliba. And it's now Martinelli who kicks it down the line. That's brilliant for Rice. And Munoz has pushed on. So they're a little bit scarce at the back here. Crystal Palace as Rice goes on a marauding run. Completes a 1-2 of Partey. Then sends it out to the right flank here to Sterling. Into the final third. He's 1-on-1 with Mitchell. Goes on the outside of the wing back. Tries the cross, but it's straight into the gloves of Dean Henderson at the near post. And there's definitely signs here in this game of both teams wanting to get that next goal. Arsenal not settling for the one goal and Palace not scared of conceding the second, trying to get an equaliser themselves. Oh, that's a shocking ball, that out of play. Looking for Mitchell there, Gay. Didn't find him, went behind the number 3. Lewis Skelly into Kivior, the goal scorer again, heading the ball home for Arsenal early on in this game. And if they do win this game, they'll be 10 points off Liverpool. So still, Liverpool can't win the league tonight as it stands. They can win it at the weekend though if they do win. Because if they win, they'll go 13 points clear with 4 games to play. And there's only 12 available, so it might have to just wait until Liverpool play at the weekend. And when they play at the weekend, it will be at home to Tottenham at 4:30. So, an interesting game there for Liverpool. Looking to win their second ever Premier League title. Still with Arsenal in the Palace half on the ball, but everyone behind the ball for Palace. It's out to the right here to Sterling. Driving inside and then tackled by Kamada, but the ball forward goes straight through for Saliba. And Arsenal can restart again. And Arsenal have just lost 3 of their last 36 Premier League home games, winning 26 and drawing 7. Though 2 of those 3 losses have been in London derbies, both to West Ham back in December 23 and February 25. Just over 22 minutes in. Can Arsenal get that second goal, or will Palace catch him on the break hit? Partey sending it over the top towards Sterling, headed away by Mitchell, but only as far as Trossard. It's now Sterling again. About 30 yards from goal, playing it to Trossard, back through for Sterling, out to the left to Rice, edge of the area, slams it towards goal, and it just goes wide. Not far away at all from Declan Rice, who has only scored the once against Palace in his career, and that was in the reverse game at Selhurst Park. Really good touch, and then a hit with the laces towards the bottom left corner. It's only a yard or so wide. Dean Henderson scrambling across with the dive. Saliba for Arsenal. Far side now with Rice on the halfway line. Keeps the ball away from the pressing Justin Devaney. Northern Irish winger made his debut for the Northern Ireland senior team in November last year. Lewis Skelly. Back to Kivior. Saliba being pressed here by Nketiah midway inside his own half. Goes to the right to Timber. Being closed down by Eze. Back to Saliba on the edge of the area. Now across to David Raya, who's never lost against Crystal Palace. He's played them 7 times previously. 0 defeats and 3 clean sheets. Lewis Skelly, the left back, has to go back here to David Raya, born in Barcelona. Came to England in July 2012 to join Blackburn Rovers. Saliba out to this near side here to Timber. Back to Saliba in the Arsenal half. Making sure they do their best to keep the ball here, Arsenal, as he clips it forward up towards Ødegaard. Header won by Lerma. Picked up by Gay in the centre circle. Pokes it through for Devaney, who tries to play a ball for Nketiah. Can't quite beat Saliba to it on the edge of the box. Kicked away and out to the left here to Lewis Skelly. Forward in between the lines here for Rice. Can't quite get away from Lerma. And Wharton fires it out to the left here to Eze. And then back to the halfway line to Gay, as there wasn't really many advanced options on there for Eze. Devaney into Kamada. Loads of time on the ball here for the former Lazio central midfielder. Gay on the left side of the back three. Forward to Eze, then into the middle for Wharton. There's space out here for Munoz, and he's been found here, the Colombian. Takes the touch. Gets onto his left foot, then plays it down the line once again for Kamada, who gets a cross in off the backside of Declan Rice, and that's a corner for Crystal Palace. They're definitely showing what they're about here, Crystal Palace. And you feel like their heads could have dropped after conceding early, especially with their recent away games, losing 5-2 to City and 5-0 to Newcastle, but they've responded really well. Can they make the most of this set piece? Plenty of bodies in the box in that mainly yellow strip tonight for Crystal Palace. It's clipped to the edge of the area to Eze, who's free for the volley, and it's off the post and in. Simply sensational from Erebera Eze. England's future linking up in style at the Emirates. A beautifully floated ball to the edge of the box by Adam Wharton. And then Eze did the rest on the volley. If you're going to concede a goal, you don't mind conceding ones like that. Stunning from Crystal Palace. Left all alone on the edge of the box. And as it's come towards him, Eze has got his right foot onto the ball. Had his right leg stretched out. Planted that left boot. Technique is outrageous. Raya with no chance. And that's a beauty. And we've got an equaliser at the Emirates. 27.5 minutes in. It's Arsenal 1, Palace 1. And Liverpool again. Seeing that Premier League title edge just slightly closer. Back to Anfield after a 5-year absence. We love to see goals like that. Just simple, but so effective. Left alone on the edge of the box. Don't think he'll be left alone again. Eze on the edge of the area from a set piece. But the technique to hit that on the right foot, off the post and in. Raya had no chance. And for Eze, that is goal number 30 for him in the Premier League in his career. It's his 4th of this season. 2 in his last 15 games now. The other goal came as most recent as at the Etihad on the 12th of April. So it's Arsenal back on the ball. We've only had one draw in the last 9 between these two teams, and that was a 2-2 draw back in October 2021. And like the reverse fixture at Selhurst Park, that also went to 1-1 despite ending 5-1. Jesus scored in the 6th minute, then Sarr equalised in the 11th. But Arsenal, of course, ended up running away with that one in the end. And they've drawn 2 of their last 5 games, Arsenal, in all competitions, and both of them were 1-1 draws to Everton and Brentford, as it's Mitchell, short ball to Eze, tackled by Timber, drops to the middle of the park here to Partey, who will lift it to the left-hand side to Martinelli. Controls it with the thigh. Lays it off for Rice. Is tackled though by Lerma aggressively but fairly. Lerma sending it over the top here for Eze. Can he get the control right? Yes, he can. Left-footed ball to Nketiah. Back to goal. Spins, shoots, and it's well blocked by Kivior. Corner for Palace. And Glasner's side are starting to enjoy themselves here at the Emirates. Really good central midfield play there by Lerma. Of course, we know he's all about that as he's usual position is in central midfield, but did a centre-back work with a slide tackle and a central midfield pass. Like I say, Nketiah's not done much wrong there. 6 yards out, back to goal, spun on Kivior, tried to get the weak foot shot away, but the Polish international's done well to get his body in the way there. But it will be a Palace corner, and that's what they've just scored from. And they've gone short this time. Wharton crosses in, punched by Ryan straight to Eze again, who's all alone on the edge of the box. Tries to guide it into that top right corner, but miscues it over the bar and wide. And it remains 1-1 after half an hour. Eze looking for his second goal of the game. Not quite, though. For a man who scored his first England goal in the March international break under Tuchel. Scored in the game against Latvia off the bench. Can Arsenal try and rebound from that setback? It's a great ball inside there, or great touch inside there by Lewis Skelly. Gets past the halfway line and goes to the right to Trossard, who's been awfully quiet still in this game. Like his captain Ødegaard as well, not to call out any players, but barely been seen. The likes of Ødegaard and Trossard, and even Rice, he's not been too on the ball. Timber on halfway. Goes to his left ear to Saliba. Not being pressed at the moment, the Frenchman. Goes to his right to Partey. Goes to his right to Timber. Really good defending here from Palace. Forces him back into the Arsenal half to Saliba. Then across to Kivior. Then back to Raya. Good press in there. From the away side. Saliba in the centre circle once more. A position he's taken up a lot on the ball so far tonight. Goes out to his left to Kivior. On the far side's Martinelli. Keeping it away from Munoz and going back to Kivior. 13 minutes left of the first half. It's 1-1 at the Emirates. Ødegaard, who's drifted out to the right-hand side here, bringing the ball forward. Tries to slip it through for Trossard. Cut out by Gay. Straight back, though, for Arsenal with Sterling. It's Timber. Towards the final third. Putting across to Partey. Keeping it away from Nketiah. It's now with Saliba. Out wide to the right to Trossard. Then into the midfield to Ødegaard. Back into Saliba. Trying to keep the ball ticking here, Arsenal. Trossard. On the right wing position. Into the box towards Timber. Cut out by Lacroix. It's now Kamada. Works it to the left to Mitchell. Then down the line towards Eze. Did it take a nick off an Arsenal man? Yes, it did. Throw in for Crystal Palace. Just inside their own half on this near side. Just in front of their manager, Oliver Glasner. Mitchell on the halfway line. Try and go down the line himself there towards Nketiah. Cut out and cleared up into the sky by Timber. Where it's headed away by Gay, straight to the chest of Ødegaard, who lifts it towards Sterling, cut out by Wharton, but always finds Partey on halfway. Keeps away from the challenge of Devaney. Now Lewis Skelly. Thought about going down the line, but the pass was blocked off, and instead turns around and tries the right-hand side here with Timber. Ødegaard inside to Rice, who takes it on in the box and tries to get the ball across. Comes off Lacroix and then back off Rice, and that'll be a goal kick for Crystal Palace. Like I said, conceded in the 3rd minute of the game with a Kivior header, but then since then it's been Palace who've probably been the better side so far. Henderson goes short to Gay, then into the edge of the box to Kamada. Drilled ball forward towards Eze, who's got his back to the Arsenal goal and forces it back to the edge of the area here to Gay. Forward to Kamada, keeping it away from Partey. Mitchell. Inside to Nketiah, dropped in to reach the ball and link up the play. Works it to the right to Lerma, forward to Munoz, about 15 yards inside the Arsenal half. Munoz finds Adam Wharton, then back to the halfway line to the number 8, Jefferson Lerma. yet to be sent off in his Crystal Palace career. Plenty of sendings off during his time at Bournemouth. Can be a little bit hot-headed, the Colombian, at times. Lacroix, long ball towards Munoz on the right-hand side, headed away by Lewis Skelly, picked up by Rice and then played back to Lewis Skelly, very calmly done by the ex-Hammer, Declan Rice. Spent 10 years at West Ham. Before that, he'd spent 7 years coming through at Chelsea. And this is appearance number 274 in the Premier League for Declan Rice. Like I say, he's 2 appearances off 100 for Arsenal. And that 100th appearance could be made against Bournemouth on the 3rd of May. Saliba. Less than 10 minutes of the first half to play. It's with Timber in a right centre-back position at the moment. Down the line to Trossard, who's trying to get himself as involved as possible. Ødegaard on that right wing, trying to link up with Trossard, who plays the ball back to Timber. Resolute defending from this yellow wall that Arsenal face at the moment. Kiwior. Across to Saliba. Partey gets took down by Nketiah. Free kick for Arsenal. Just about a couple of yards in front of the centre circle. Taken quickly by Saliba to Kiwior. Lewis Skelly on the left-hand side, away from Devaney and Kamada. And his ball through to Rice is cleared by Lacroix. It'll be chased down by Nketiah. Kicked away, though, by Kiwior into the middle of the park to Timber. Well defended there from the former Spezia man. Trossard, clipped by Ezer on the right-hand side. Free kick for Arsenal. Very similar position to where they scored their first goal of the game, Arsenal. That corner from Ødegaard, that free kick from Ødegaard, it's just on the opposite side. It's a very similar kind of distance and angle, but like I say, it's just on the Arsenal right flank this time and not their left. So instead of the left foot of Ødegaard, it will be the right boot of Declan Rice as all attacking Arsenal players situate themselves at the far post. Crystal Palace trying to keep their defensive high line. And they run across again, the Arsenal players, and into the Palace line as the ball goes in, volleyed away by Gate. Goes all the way through here to Lewis Skelly, furthest back for Arsenal. He goes out to the right again once more to Rice. He's got time on the ball here, the number 41. Gets Saliba involved, who shuffles back into the centre-back position. Trossard on the Arsenal left, plays it to Ødegaard. It's to Saliba in a central area. Everyone in front of him for the Frenchman. Out wide right it goes here to Sterling. Back into Timber. Now on the halfway line with Saliba. Finds Ødegaard. Good pressing here from Mitchell, staying on the Norwegian's toes, who plays the cross towards the left-hand side to Kiwior. Partey into Saliba once more. Timber across to Saliba, just inside the Arsenal half at the moment. Kiwior out wide to Rice, tackled strongly, but again, fairly this time by Munoz. Kiwior with a poor touch, but he's able to keep it away from Munoz and Devaney as well. And skips beyond Wharton, but can't quite get around Lerma. Palace have it back here with Lacroix into the middle of the park to Wharton. Looking for Gay, who slides in and wins it on Sterling. Had to be careful there, Mark Gay. And it's now Tyreek Mitchell, the left wing back. Holds it up and brings in Ezer. Not loads of options around him as Ezer kicks the ball out of play. Very sportsmanlike there as Sterling definitely felt the power and the fullness of that challenge from Mark Gay, the Crystal Palace captain, who's been sent off recently in that home win against Brighton at the start of April. Slides in. No, nothing wrong with that. Got the ball. Maybe slightly caught Sterling on the way through, but nothing more than that. And we're already back underway with Arsenal throwing the ball back to Crystal Palace. And they'll start in their back three with Lacroix on the ball. Gay on halfway. Playing it forward quickly to the number 18, Kamada. Playing his 130th game under Glasner in his career. Ball into the box here from Gay. Devaney will chase it. It's overhit. Seen out for a goal kick by David Raya. Play to Saliba as Arsenal play out from the back. 4.5 minutes of the first 45 to play. And between these two, they've got the two teams with the most red cards this season in the Premier League. Arsenal atop with 5. 2 for Lewis Skelly and then 1 for Rice, Trossard and Saliba. And then Palace are second on 4 with Nketiah, Kamada, Gay and Richards. 3 of those red cards coming very recently. 2 in that derby against Brighton at the start of the month, and then Richards at the weekend against Bournemouth. Kivior just inside the Arsenal half here on the ball. Forward to the halfway line to Partey. Got time to assess his options. Finds Trossard in the central area. Keeping it away from Eze. Partey. Looking out to the near side here. Working it to Timber. Bringing the ball forward towards the final third. Timber. Ball to the edge of the area. Touched by Trossard. Can he get the shot off? Yes, he can! And it dribbles through into the bottom right corner. And despite Palace probably looking the better side, it's Arsenal with the better looking scoreline. It's in their favour. They go 2-1 up here at the Emirates. And a very quiet Leandro Trossard has made himself heard with that finish. He gets the home crowd cheering for another Arsenal goal. He's got 4 now in his last 4 in the Premier League after scoring 0 in the previous 9 before this little purple patch he's on at the moment. Bit too easy. Timber allowed to drive forward. Eze not really tracking him. And the ball to the edge of the area. Too much space for Trossard, and he took a touch with his right foot, which forced him onto his left. And as he shot, it took a slight nick off, I think it was Lacroix, which just helped its way beyond Dean Henderson. Yeah, it changed the direction of the shot, and it placed it into the bottom corner for the Belgian. He won't complain. He's on the score sheet once again. And it's Arsenal 2, Crystal Palace 1. Very undeserved, really, for Crystal Palace, who have looked probably the better side overall. But looking the better side doesn't get you in a front in games. You've got to be taking chances, and they've not been able to do that. And Arsenal have, and it is 2-1 to the Gunners. And again, it looks like Liverpool might have to wait until Sunday to get the Premier League title in their name for this season. Arsenal on a third. Ball across. It's kicked behind by Gate. Not sure if there's an offside flag there on Trossard, who was played down the left-hand side. I think he was offside, sorry. Oh, I don't know. Would have been close, that. Might have been played on by Gay, who sent it over the top. And yeah, I think it is a corner. Looking to turn as the provider there, Trossard, after scoring that goal to put them back ahead right before the break. We know how good Arsenal are from set pieces. Again, they flood the back post and then they drift in towards the more central areas. The ball goes to the far post. Trossard's alone. Heads it all the way back across towards Rice, who took the corner. Can't quite get there ahead of Eze, who flicks over his head and gets around it, then plays it down the line for Nketiah. Break is on. Nketiah on the right-hand side, isolated. But he takes on Sterling and plays it to Devaney. That's brilliant from Nketiah. It's now Wharton in front of Ødegaard and lifts it out to the left to Mitchell. This will be a brilliant counter-attacking goal. Mitchell, final third. Crosses it low, and it's just slightly sliced by Partey. Back out to Mitchell, who goes low. Kamada, back to goal, lays it off. Gay shoots off the knee of Kivior. And away he goes out to the Palace right here for Lerma, right before the break. Palace want to get another quick equaliser if they can. Eze, the one who got the equaliser the first time of asking. Lacroix. Arsenal have got everyone behind the ball at the moment. Gay towards the halfway line here to Lacroix. Jefferson Lerma never scored or won against Arsenal in his previous 8 in his career. Lifted over by Gay towards Nketiah, slips and it goes beyond him and Saliba. And it's now through for David Raya. And we've got 2 minutes added on at the end of this first half, indicated from the fourth official of Steve Martin. Arsenal just probably want to see this through to half-time. Arsenal have failed to win 4 times this season when scoring first at the Emirates. Those 4 games where they didn't win when scoring first weren't defeats. They all just ended up being draws for Arsenal. Probably another downfall of their season, taking the lead at home but not seeing it through. This time they've got back in the lead. Played a minute of the added on. It's with Raya on the edge of the area. Forward to Partey, but it's misplaced and Wharton goes for the shot quickly. Straight off Partey. Got away with it there big time. Ødegaard in behind for Martinelli. Can they go from defence to attack? Henderson came out. Martinelli poked it towards goal, but thankfully for Henderson, it hit him right on the foot. And that will be Palace to start from the back. Got away with that though there, Raya and Partey, with Wharton just hitting it straight back off the Arsenal man. Ball forward to Nketiah, in between the lines here. He's got Munoz to his right, needs to release it. Tackle from behind though by Rice, and this will probably be the last action of the half. A free kick about 30 yards out, just towards the right-hand side of the Arsenal half. And Declan Rice does go in the book for that. Not exactly complaining. The English international. This is 5th booking of the season in the Premier League for Declan Rice. Ezer's over it. About 35 yards out probably. A bit too far away for a shot. Arsenal have set up with a 2-man wall. Munoz is just lingering at the far post. Ezer puts it in there towards Gay. Flicked away off the head of Lewis Skelly. And that'll be enough for the referee. As there's a little bit of afters here between Lerma and Timber, but I don't think there's anything more in that. I think the referee's diffused that pretty quickly as at half-time here at the Emirates. It is Arsenal who have a 2-1 lead, and they took the lead very early on through Jakub Kiwior scoring his first goal of the season. It was a free kick on the Arsenal left, swung in, and Kiwior couldn't believe his luck. He was all alone for the header, and he put it to the left-hand side of the goal. Henderson rooted to the spot. But Crystal Palace responded really well after going behind, and were probably the better side, and were rewarded for their performance. 27th minute, Ezer from a corner, found on the edge of the area by Wharton, and right-footed, it bounced off the post and in. It was a superb goal and a much-deserved equaliser, and it was probably unlucky that Palace are going in behind, and that was due to a Leandro Trossard goal in the 42nd minute. He played the ball onto his right foot, chopped onto his left, took a big nick off Lacroix, which sent the ball beyond Henderson into the bottom right corner. Arsenal won't mind at all, because it means they're ahead. And at half-time here in this fixture at the Emirates, it's Arsenal 2, Crystal Palace 1. I'm going to have a quick break for half-time. I'll be back in around 15 minutes, so make sure you're back as well for the second half of live commentary, as at the moment at the Emirates, as just stated, it's Arsenal 2, Crystal Palace 1. Hello, we are back for the second half of Arsenal taking on Crystal Palace in this London derby, and it is Arsenal who are ahead, despite potentially not really deserving to have that title of being ahead. Personally, I feel like Crystal Palace are probably the better team, especially after conceding so early on. The Jakub Kivior 3rd-minute header got the equaliser in the 27th minute through Eze, who scored his first ever goal against Arsenal. And it was a delightful bit of technique with a right-footed strike. But right before the break, Leandro Trossard, who had been slightly quiet so far today, was able to have a deflected shot just squeeze into the bottom right corner. We are underway for the second half. Here is Arsenal kick us off, kicking right to left. Palace left to right, and we know on that right side of the pitch, as the camera's looking at, we do have that corner of the pitch where it is the Crystal Palace fans all joined together. And it's a throw in here for Arsenal. It's dealt with here by Maxence Lacroix. And it's Timber, heavy touch. Eze tries to play back to Kamada, but goes to Ødegaard instead. In behind for Sterling on the right-hand side, just outside the box. Crosses into the box, and it's headed away by Lerma. Vital header, because Rice was trying to get involved there in the goals once more. And it'll be Adam Wharton to bring it away for Crystal Palace. Slowing it down and playing it to the left centre-back here of Mark Gay. As it was an almost chance there for Arsenal, who are going to finish quite a way off the points tally they had last year. Obviously, if they win tonight, they'll go on 69 points. That's still 20 off the amount they got last season. They got 89 last season. And with the games they've got left, if they were to win all the remaining 15, they'd only finish on 81. As again, ball given away, and it's played through to Sterling. Again on the right wing, one-on-one with Gay, just outside the 18-yard box. Holds it up and pokes it back to Timber, who wanted to try and play to Partey, but decides to go safe, and it's into Saliba instead. It's now Kivior playing a quick ball out to the left to Lewis Skelly. Gets in front of Devaney, looking for the foul, and he wins it as well. Getting across his man, and in front of him there, Miles Lewis Skelly, and it's a booking for the youngster, Justin Devaney, who's in today for Ismail Assar. Bit of rotation from Oliver Glasner, as they do have that FA Cup semi-final at the weekend at Wembley against Aston Villa. Left-hand side, about 25 yards out, but it's quite an angle for Ødegaard, but it's a one-man wall for Dean Henderson, so it will be another cross from Ødegaard. Already got an assist tonight for that first goal for Jakub Kivior. Can the Norwegian add another assist to his tally for the night? Ødegaard delivers in towards the far post. It's punched away by Henderson. Drops it towards Saliba. Henderson's on the floor. They try and work it home, but it's cleared off the line by Lacroix. And then the referee pauses the players. Dean Henderson has remained down for now. As he went to punch that, it looked like he'd maybe even collided with a teammate there. It was an inviting ball in from Ødegaard. It was swinging away from goal. And he'd just clattered into Nketiah there, and it was almost Trossard to force it home. But cleared away from goal there by Lacroix. It looks like he's almost punched a bit of the ball, Henderson, and a bit of Nketiah as well. Let's have a look. Went for it. Yeah, just collides into his teammate, holding his left shoulder. Certainly feeling that one. The Palace number one. Joined last season. From Manchester United for £15 million as an initial fee. So Dean Henderson just requiring a little bit of treatment here. They do have a backup goalkeeper on the bench, Crystal Palace, former Arsenal man. Matt Turner, the American, on loan this season from Nottingham Forest. So it's going to be a drop ball here for Dean Henderson. It was cleared out for an Arsenal throw-in, so I would have thought they were going to give it back to Arsenal, but I think not. Dean Henderson has it and launches it forward with a kick out of his hands, and it's up towards Nketiah, headed down by Saliba to right. Shifts it towards the right here for Timber. Bit of green grass to run into, just less than 5 minutes into the second half. It's still 2-1 to Arsenal. We've probably started off as the better side in this second 45 minutes. Saliba goes to his left there to Kivior. Out to the far side to Sterling. Midway side, the Palace half. Goes back to the halfway line to Timber, who was out for the Euros for the Netherlands last summer. Still coming back from that ACL injury he was. Jurrien Timber was on the bench for the last game against Ipswich with no minutes, so it was a much needed rest for the Dutchman. Signed for £38 million back in July 2023. Kivior to Lewis Skelly. Tackled by Wharton. Last touch off Lewis Skelly. Throwing for the away side. Well won there. And at the moment, it will change, of course, tonight. But after 33 games, Crystal Palace have won 11, drawn 11, and then lost 11 as well. Goal difference isn't quite equal. They've now scored 42 and conceded 47. Like I say, this will just be one win in their last 6 if they don't pick up 3 points tonight, which is looking a little bit unlikely. Now they're trailing 2-1. Partey, just inside the centre circle, being closed down by Wharton. Plays it in between the lines for Ødegaard, then slipped through towards Trossard, who's out-muscled by Lacroix. Brilliant defending from the former Wolfsburg man. It's now with Dean Henderson. 52 minutes played. It's still 2-1 to Arsenal, who are delaying the Liverpool title celebrations for now. Clipped out to Munoz. Has to go back to Lerma. Into Wharton, out wide to Munoz, bit short, cut out by Lewis Skelly. Plays it first time to Trossard. Now for the run of Ødegaard on the edge of the area. Tackle well by Lacroix. Finds its way through to Eze, who holds it up for now, keeping it away from Raheem Sterling. A bear at Eze to Kamada. Out wide to Mitchell. Back into Kamada, then back once more to Gay. Making sure they keep the possession there, the Eagles. Wharton drifting out to the right-hand side and finding Munoz. Not much going on up front for Palace. Just keeping it within the defensive midfield. Like I say, just one win in their first 13 league games this season, Crystal Palace. So imagine where they could have been if they didn't start so slowly. That one win, of course, was a home win against Spurs at the end of October. Controlled by Nketiah, but slips, and it's now with Saliba just to head out for a Palace throw-in on that far side. On the far side with Mitchell on the ball at his feet. Eze just touches it behind him here for Gay. It's now on the halfway line with Maxence Lacroix. It's made over 100 Bundesliga appearances during his time in Germany. Been sent off 6 times in the German First Division. As they go for a switch out to Mitchell. Controls it and takes a touch inside. Tries to get away from Timber, but good tackle from the former Ajax man. Then it's now Saliba on the edge of the 18-yard box. A positive touch that by Tyreek Mitchell. Tried to be clever with the touch inside. Trossard. It's now the number 5, Thomas Partey. Spent 8 years at Atletico Madrid. His contract is up at the end of this year. And there is reports as of today, I think, where Arsenal are looking to extend the Ghanaian's contract. Still wanting his name linked with the club. Lewis Skelly into Rice, then back to Lewis Skelly. Big tackle though from Munoz on the edge of the area. Then Wharton into space for Nketiah. The break is on. Nketiah's got Ezer to his left. He'll keep driving. Nketiah, he overruns it, falls over, and the ball goes through to Raya. He's got to play the ball. Decision making lacking there for Eddie Nketiah. He needs to start proving himself as quickly as possible. He's only got 5 goals this season for Palace. 2 in his last 2 in the FA Cup. Did get that one, of course, as well in the League Cup against Arsenal. But just the one in the league simply is not good enough. Throw in midway inside the Palace half for Arsenal. Kivior on halfway. All the time in the world on the ball. For Jakub Kivior. First ever start against Crystal Palace in the Premier League. And he scored in it. Scored in the 3rd minute. Sterling back into his own half here to Saliba as he was being tracked down there by Tyreek Mitchell. It's down this near side to Lewis Skelly. Thought about going forward, but instead cuts back and goes inside to Partey. To his right into the centre circle to Ødegaard. Switching it to the left, he finds Martinelli, or tried to, but cleared away by Munoz. But straight to Kivior. Bit of a rush of blood to the head there by Munoz. Could have easily controlled that possibly, and then looked to advance. Just 11.5 minutes into the second half. We're still at 2-1 at the Emirates. No real opportunities for Palace to try and get the equaliser in this second half. Timber on halfway. Lifting it down the right channel here towards Sterling. Bullied off the ball too easily there by Mike Gay. And he tries to play it forward to Ezer, who can take it beyond the halfway line. Gay continues his run forward. Ezer looking to maybe switch it instead. He drifts into the central area of the pitch. Then finds Lerma forward to Munoz. Into Ezer again. Lays it off for Lerma. Back inside to the middle. Now for Adam Wharton. Mitchell. Back into Gay. He's going to go for a crossfield ball towards the Palace right. Straight to the foot of Munoz, who goes backwards here to Ezer. Just starting to build up the momentum for an attack here, possibly. Crystal Palace, Ezer, as everyone's behind the ball for Arsenal. Goes to the left to Gay. Quick pass to his right to Lacroix. Lerma. Kamada making a run, but instead switches it out to Tyreek Mitchell, where the space is opened up for the wing-back, who will deliver it deep, and it's parried by Raya, taking the ball away from Devaney and Munoz, and a slide tackle there from Lerma. Concedes the goal kick. And Raya had to get the touch there because I don't think he thought that ball was going as deep as it did. And he got a vital touch because, like I said, Devaney and Munoz were coming in there at the far post. 58 minutes in, still 2-1. Palace still look like scoring when they do build an attack. Yeah, if they don't win this game, Palace, which again, looking unlikely, maybe a draw is possible, but it'd be 4 away games in the Premier League without a win. Didn't lose any away games in 10 from the start of November to the start of this month. So they've had a fantastic run, especially away from home, Crystal Palace, where they just did not lose on their travels. Martinelli on the left wing gets across into the far post. It's glanced away by Mitchell. Doesn't come off Sterling. And that will be a corner kick for the Gunners. As we've just over half an hour to play, we're going to get a break. And we're going to get a substitution. And for a lot of fantasy Premier League managers, including me, they'll be delighted to see Bukayo Saka entering the pitch, as he'll be captained by a lot of FPL players. Sterling just not been very effective tonight. Just looks like the shadow of the player he once was during his prime days at the Etihad. And it will be Bukayo Saka to come on. 6 league goals this season, 1 in his last 4 since his return. And that was against Fulham on his return. Back into the team. Out with a hamstring injury from December through to March. It's going to be an in-swing from Ødegaard as Arsenal pack the 6-yard box. It's punched by Henderson. Left by Eze, and it'll be Kamada to take over. Trying to look for Eze again. Goes beyond him, looking for Wharton. Well dealt with there, though, by Declan Rice, who starts again with Riot. And with half an hour exactly left on the clock, it's Arsenal 2, Palace 1. And it's Arsenal who can build from the back on the ball. Halfway line, Trossard plays it to his left to Kivior. Just playing around with the ball at the back now. Arsenal. Mars loose, Skelly at left back. 10 yards inside the Palace half. Starts again with Kivior, who's on the halfway line himself. Tries to curl it down the left-hand side for Martinelli. Cut out, though, by Munoz. Wharton, first pass deflects back to him, though. And then his second pass comes off Rice, and now it's with Partey. He's got Saka attacking to the right. Slips it to the left instead to Trossard, edge of the area. Tries to play it through for Martinelli. Well intercepted by Lerma, who keeps it away from Trossard. It's now with Wharton again, midway side his own half. Needs to try and release it. His third pass in a row intercepted, but it deflects through to Gay off Ødegaard. And Palace can just relax with the ball with their back three, who then play it into the midfield to Kamada. Gay at left centre-back, bringing it forward, away from Saka. Try to play a ball in towards Nketiah, headed away by Saliba, flicked over the head of Gay by Partey, and away from Mitchell to play it to Timber, who will go over the top, looking for Saka. Ball out of play, throwing for Palace. And we're going to get a double change for Palace. And it's frustrating, but it's also understandable. The man who got the goal with an outrageous volley with his right foot, Eberer Eze, will be replaced. Of course, they have got that FA Cup semi-final in mind for the weekend. So Eze will be replaced by Sarr, who dropped to the bench today to get his little bit of rest. And the second change, we'll see another man who will certainly start at the weekend. Adam Wharton is off for Will Hughes, who signed a new contract the other day to keep his stay at Palace until at least 2027. But like I say, they understand that they want to stay in this game. Crystal Palace and try and equalise, but at the same time, they've got to keep in mind they've got a huge game at the weekend as well. So back underway. And it's Raya with a bit of a loose ball, but it's a good touch from Partey, which made it look a lot better than it was. And Arsenal survived that Palace press. And it's now with the number 2, William Saliba. Of course, the Champions League is also a thought in the mind of the Arsenal players and staff. In the league phase, they had to play the likes of Atalanta, beat PSG at home 2-0. Also played Shakhtar, lost away to Inter. Played Sporting, Monaco, Zagreb and Girona. Won 9-3 on aggregate in the last 60 against PSV. Of course, won 5-1 on aggregate against Real Madrid. A sublime effort from Arsenal to get themselves into the last 4 as Raya sends it away and out of play. Midway side the Arsenal half. On the far side, it's a Crystal Palace throw-in. Usually better than that with his feet, David Raya. There is the new Arsenal sporting director, Andrea Berta, brought in last month from Atletico Madrid after Edu departed earlier on this season. It's Sarr in the box, crosses towards Devaney, whose header is looping over and had to be touched behind by Raya. possibly even shouldered that there, Justin Devenit. Good link up there. Sarr being found by Mitchell in the corner of the box. He crossed. And Devenit, yeah, shouldered that, looped up. Looked like it may have just been going underneath the crossbar, so the touch was needed by Raya. Completely looped up and, like I say, had to be touched behind. Certainly looked like the shoulder there as it goes in and it's saved at the near post. Corner came in from Kamada and it was put towards goal and had to be met by the save of Raya, potentially. Definitely came off the woodwork, it seemed. Gay glanced it on, it didn't come off the woodwork. Good save from Raya at the near post. An almost chance for Marta Gay to score his 4th goal of the season in the league. It would have been his first in over 3 months. Nketiah on halfway, keeping it away from Saliba and trying to play it in behind here for Munoz. Raya's going to stay. Munoz is full sprint and he keeps it in on the byline. He has to play it back though. And it's well kept by Lerma, who crosses in, goes behind everyone. Nketiah retrieves the ball, but his touch is loose. Gives it to Ødegaard, helped on by Trossard, just goes behind Rice. Forward by Lerma. Sarr's got Munoz to his right, needs to release it. Sarr doesn't. Clips it in instead to the far post, towards an acrobatic attempt from Nketiah, who misses it. Mitchell still has it on the far side. Forced away from goal by Timber. Kicks it off Saka. Corner for Palace on the far side. Just over a quarter of the game left. Still just the 1 goal in it. Nketiah went for the overhead kick and got nowhere near it. Nearly volleyed Saliba in the face more than anything. They just came close from the most recent corner from that far side from Kamada. He's going to go far post this time towards Munoz. Heads it back across and it's all the way through. And behind for a goal kick. Knocking at this Arsenal door. Crystal Palace just not quite able to get through as of yet. It was a deeper one. It looped in the air. Munoz headed it across and it was glanced on by Sarr. Just wide. Any more contact on it and it's going in. Almost looks like he shouldered that as well. Glasner almost on his knees in disbelief. His team haven't got the equaliser there. Like I say, for Crystal Palace in the Premier League, they've just lost 3 of their last 19. Well, sorry, they lost 3 of 19 games in that mad run they went on where they climbed up the table. That was from Boxing Day all the way to the 5th of April. Losing just 3 from 19 games, picking up 36 points out of a possible 57. The form has just slightly dried up, but you can see why they were able to climb up the way they did with those kind of numbers. It's Munoz at right wing back. Clearing up to the halfway line. Headed away by Kivior. Controlled by Hughes. Sent over the top to Nketiah. Flag will go up. And it'll go up early. Seemed pretty obvious that he was offside there. The former Arsenal man. So close there by Sarr. Again, it looked like he just took it off the head of Gay, who probably would have headed it home. Definitely still in this Crystal Palace, who have won 3 Premier League London derbies this season. The last time they won more London derbies in a single top-flight campaign was in the 1990-91 season when they won 5 London derbies. Kivior forced back to Raya. He's just outside the Arsenal 18-yard box for now. 21 minutes to the 90 to play. Saliba to Ødegaard on the turn, and he plays it through there for Trossard. That's really good from Ødegaard. It's now into the space for Lewis Skelly, who's got Martinelli to his left, into the final third. Lewis Skelly, low ball. Ødegaard first time, kicks it off the back of Rice. Still alive, Ødegaard kicks it away. Controlled by Timber, laid off to Trossard. Out wide it goes to Saka. Brings it down. Works it to Ødegaard. Scoops it for Timber, who can keep it in. No, he can't. Tapped in by Martinelli. But flag had gone up for a goal kick. Looks like Timber was onside from that Martinelli scoop ball over the top, but he just couldn't quite keep the ball in. Or did the linesman flag for offside? Because if he's flagged for offside, and not for the fact the ball might have gone out of play, that probably should stand that goal. Doesn't look like it went fully out of play for me. Martinelli taps it in from literally hard out with his left foot, couldn't really miss. And VAR's going to check this. I think the only problem will be if that ball went out of play, because he looks onside, Jurrien Timber. Martinelli's looking for back-to-back goals in the Premier League. Scored at the weekend against Ipswich to make it 2-0 to the Gunners. Conversation with the referee at the moment is with Dean Henderson. Like I said, they're checking for offside. Timber didn't look offside, and the ball didn't look like it completely went out of play. Not quite sure how VAR are going to try and determine if that ball was out of play or not. I think the offside's pretty simple. See what conclusion VAR get to this. The VAR is Alex Chilowitz, who refereed on Saturday. On Monday. I completely forgot it was Easter. On Monday at Edgeley Park, Stockport County against... Can't quite remember who we played. I was there. Not sure, but it was at Edgeley Park refereeing. Why am I... Huddersfield. See, I did know. Now they're checking if the ball had gone out. God, that's close. I think it just did. Even if you look from above, I think that the full ball went out of play. So I'm guessing they've determined that it was onside. Now they're just seeing if the ball had gone out of play. And for me, it does look like the whole of the ball just went out of play. And yeah, will be a goal kick. So it was onside for Timber, but he just couldn't quite keep the ball in play, which looks like the right call for me. So have a look. Ball bounces. Yeah. All the ball out of play. So it remains 2-1 to Arsenal, who will be made to work for these 3 points as it stands. Long ball forward for Palace. Breaks out to the right side in the final third for Sarr. Try to take on Kivior. Lays it off to Munoz, who's now up against Lewis Skelly. Goes back into Sarr. Back once more to Lerma, who crosses in deep towards Tyreek Mitchell, who's going to let the ball run across. He's been able to keep it in, though. Round that corner flag. Oh, no, he hasn't kept it in. Can't quite believe it there, Tyreek Mitchell, but it's going to be a goal kick for Arsenal. Despite bringing off the likes of Eze and Wharton, they are going to give a run out to one of their main players and probably a starter for Saturday against Villa in the semi-final, and that is Jean-Philippe Mateta, who's on 13 league goals this season, just one in his last 5, which is in that win against Brighton on Derby Day. Scored 16 last season in the Premier League, and 13 of them came in 13 under Glasner as he arrived. That included a hat-trick on the final day against Villa. Arsenal have it just inside their own half as it stands. It's Thomas Partey. Kivior to Lewis Skelly. Tried to take the touch inside, but the touch was heavy. So was Devenis. And it's Ødegaard to try and play it through towards Saka. Cut out, though, by Lacroix. As far as Partey. So Ødegaard again being pressed by Kamada. Wins it fairly. It's now Will Hughes midway side his own half. Keeping the ball and keeping it simple. Playing it back to Lacroix. Being closed down by Trossard. Goes to his right to Lerma. Just over 15 minutes left at the Emirates. Lerma slams it forward. Headed on by Kivior. Headed away, though, by Hughes. Flicked into the air by Munoz towards Nketiah. Battling with Saliba. Still with Nketiah, who loses out to the Frenchman. And it's well played there by Arsenal to get it to Timber with space in time. Trossard on the halfway line. Playing it out wide here to Saka. One-on-one with Mitchell, midway side the Palace half. Back it goes into Ødegaard. Out to the left it goes to Kivior. Inside the Palace half still. Saka in the final third. Forced to go back here to Timber. Partey can't work it back out wide to Saka. Into the middle to Nketiah. Well found ball that by Tyreek Mitchell. Nketiah's got Sarr to his left and he'll play it to the former Watford winger. Ismaila Sarr. Mitchell's overlapping. In the box, he plays it to him. Mitchell crosses high again, but easily caught by Raya. Very easily caught. Not the best of deliveries there by Tyreek Mitchell, who does have a contract here at Palace till 2027. Came through at Brentford until he left in 2016 to join Palace. So Thomas Partey on the ball, waiting for that next pass to make. Timber at right back. Going to Raya. Almost playing as a left centre-back in build-up here. And plays it to his centre-back partner, Saliba. Forward to Ødegaard. Bit of time on the ball for the captain. Works out wide left here to Kivior. Down the line for Martinelli. Back into Kivior once more. It's now with Raya. Works it to Partey. Turning 32 in 2 months' time. Ball towards Trossard's not the greatest. His touch gets away from him. Picked up by Kamada. It's now Hughes. Curling it out wide left with a bit of height to Sarr. Brings it down nicely. It's now back with Gay. 13 minutes left to play. Can Palace nick an equaliser at the Emirates? Or will there be a 7th win in a row in this fixture for Arsenal? Gay lifted ball towards the halfway line. Headed out to the right by Partey to Timber. And Arsenal have got it back in their own half with Saliba. Just 24 years of age as well, Saliba. It's quite frightening, really, how good he already is at the young age of the centre-half. Timber, everyone behind the ball for Palace. Forward to Saka on the far side, but then forced to go back into Timber once more. 12 minutes to go at the Emirates. Partey in the centre circle has to go back to Saliba. It's now with Kivior at left centre-back. Now Rice, been slightly quiet, Declan Rice, but he's now driving forward with the ball on the Arsenal left. Plays it to Martinelli, who goes to Partey. Out to the right to Timber, about 30 yards from goal. Forward to Saka, one-on-one with Mitchell, just outside the area still. Goes to the edge of the area to Ødegaard, wants to shoot, will shoot, blocked by Kamada. And it's recycled by Kivior as he goes across to William Saliba. And here's Martin Ødegaard once more. Spent 6 years at Real Madrid before leaving on a permanent for Arsenal for 30 million in August 2021. Did miss 2 months of the early part of the season with an ankle problem. Martin Ødegaard from September to November. Still playing it around the midfield here. Ødegaard takes it on the turn and gets away from Hughes. It's really good for Martin Ødegaard. Out to the left to Martinelli. In the corner of the box on the left-hand side. Goes on the outside of Munoz. Puts the ball in towards Bukayo Saka. And that's a heroic save from Dean Henderson. On the volley. It looks like it was arrowing in. But a right hand raised from Dean Henderson denied Saka of a goal off the bench. Good winger play that from Martinelli to get beyond Munoz. Stood it up And about on the 6-yard line, Saka's volleyed, come off the knee of Mitchell, which just gave it that extra bit of height, which probably made it a bit easier for Henderson to palm it over, but that's not taking anything away from the save. Still good reactions from the 28-year-old, as it will be 2 changes now for Palace again. It'll be Eddie Nketiah, the former Arsenal man. Spent 9 years here, scoring 38 goals. He'll be replaced by Jean-Philippe Mateta, who made his 125th Premier League appearance at the weekend. And the second change, we'll see a youngster on for another youngster. So Justin Devenny off for Romain Esse, who they brought in for £12 million from Millwall in January. Scored on his debut in that 2-1 home defeat to Brentford. Towards the end of January, Declan Rice ball, back post, free header. Side netting though from Trossard. Should have done better, and he knows it. Less than 10 minutes to go at the Emirates. Still 2-1 to Arsenal. Long ball from Henderson over Partey and Esse, and it reaches Mateta on the right wing, who just about keeps it in, but he's bullied off it by Lewis Skelly. Great defending at left back. Martinelli losing out though to Munoz. That's not the place to give it away. It drops here in the box, and it's hit over the bar by Sarr. Got right underneath it. Ismaila Sarr, and it is a goal kick for Arsenal. Actually, Martinelli tried to line it to Rice, but it was stopped by Munoz. Got it inside to Mateta, who let it go through for Sarr, who shot first time. Never seemed in control of that shot, though. Then number 7 off the bench. Saliba on the edge of the 18-yard box. Time to play it forward 5 yards to Ødegaard. He's got Kamada in front of him. Goes to his left to Partey. Raya. Does look like Arsenal will win this game, which means that Liverpool have to wait for the weekend to secure the Premier League title. But the last... Oh, Saliba gives it away for Mateta, who shrugs off Ødegaard and chips it in towards the back of the net. And it hits the back of the net. Gifted for Crystal Palace, but delivered by Jean-Philippe Mateta. Straight off the bench and straight onto the score sheet. It's a disaster at the back for Arsenal. And again, I think it was Saliba the one involved in the mess up. Mateta scores his 14th league goal of the season, 2 in his last 6. So he was with Saliba at right centre-back. And he played it to Ødegaard, who returned it to Saliba. Kamada went to press him, took too long, then poked it towards Ødegaard, but Mateta was stood right in front of him. And then around 25 yards out, Mateta had the intelligence to see that Raya wasn't in his goal, because he was almost acting as a centre-back as Arsenal would try to play out from the back. And he just lifted it over Raya, and it just kissed the underneath for the crossbar. Perfect precision and weight from Mateta. Raya was scrambling, never getting there. Off the underside of the crossbar and in. It is a gift for Palace, but that is so well taken from Mateta. And at the Emirates, it's Arsenal 2, Crystal Palace 2. Just about to say it looks like Arsenal are going to win this game. They're now level, and the dream is still alive for Liverpool, for Palace to potentially win this game tonight, and that would give Liverpool the league title. What I was saying before that mistake from Saliba is the fact that Liverpool had to wait 30 years between their last 2 league titles, when they won it in 1990 and 2020. This wait has been a bit shorter, 2020 to 2025. I was going to say they're probably going to have to wait till Sunday. It might be tonight. Palace will have confidence that they can go on and win this now. And again, complete story of Arsenal's season. Too many draws. This will be draw number 13 this season in the Premier League, which is just simply too many. They only drew 5 in the Premier League last season, Arsenal. But Mateta off the bench and scoring a worldie. He's 17th in all competitions. It's 3-6 now against Arsenal as well for him. Scored in the League Cup defeat earlier on this season. And that was in the 4th minute. And that came from a Dean Henderson long ball forward and an assist for the goalkeeper. 5 minutes to the 90. Martinelli on the near side can keep it in. Saka on the right wing in that final third. Plays it inside to Timber. Forward for Ødegaard, tried the dummy. Cut out though by Mitchell, who's looking to play a long ball forward potentially. Finds Sarr, good touch as well from Sarr, but pulled back by Partey. And that will be a free kick for Crystal Palace. And there's going to be substitutions here for Arsenal this time. Martin Ødegaard is going to be replaced here, the captain. Assisted the first goal. Martin Ødegaard. And he'll be replaced by Ethan Nwaneri, who looks like he might be playing a more central position this time. The number 53, who scored in the weekend against Ipswich, his first league goal since City, at the beginning of February. And the other change, we'll see Miles Lewis-Skelly come off for Kieran Tierney, who looks like he will be going to Celtic at the start of next season. Looks like his 6-year stint at Arsenal is coming to an end. Just his 10th Premier League appearance. His first Premier League appearance of this season was off the bench late on against Spurs at home on the 15th of January. He's only started once. That was also at home against Brentford as Kivior slices it backwards towards goal. Esse can't quite get there. It is Saliba who volleys away left-footed. Up towards Trossard who touched it down nicely. But then caught by Lerma, and that'll be a free kick for Arsenal. Well won that by Leandro Trossard. 3.5 minutes to the 90 to go. 2-2. Palace fancy this. This will be their third draw in their last 6 Premier League games. Drawing away at Southampton, drawing at the weekend to Bournemouth, and now away at Arsenal. Halfway line's Kivior. Saliba to his right here to Timber, being closed down by Sarr in his own half. He's been forced to go back to Raya just outside the 18-yard box. Needs to be careful where he's standing now, Raya, after being caught out last time around. Kivior on halfway. Palace sat up with good defensive shape. Tierney, can he get it through towards right on the edge of the box? Cut out by the head of Lerma. It's now with Hughes. Goes to the right to Esse. Forward once more to Munoz on halfway. Nutmegs Martinelli. Then backheels it back through for Esse, who goes for a diagonal ball in behind, looking for the runner Sarr. Not the worst of ideas, but the execution wasn't there. Rolled out by Ryan out to Nwaneri for the substitute, who came on for the captain. 2 minutes to the 90 to go. Plus added on time. Still 2-2 here at the Emirates. The last time these two teams did draw was a 2-2 draw back in October 2021. Saka. Drifted out to this left-hand side for the moment. Tierney. Forward by Kivior. Cut out by Esse, but the loose ball drops to Tierney. Then back into Kivior it goes. 90 seconds left of the 90. But Arsenal have had 11 shots tonight compared to Palace's 14. But they have dominated the possession a bit more. Had 2/3 of the ball, Arsenal, in this game. Not been great tonight, really. A lot of their big-name players have been quiet. And I think Palace will be a bit frustrated that they might walk away with just the point. They'll probably feel like they could have deserved all 3. Tierney at left back. On the ball. Going across to Saliba in the centre circle. Timber now with it. Forward and out wide to Nwaneri. Drifting inside. Gliding with the ball here, the youngster. Playing it to Tierney. Keeping it away from Esse. Kivior back out wide to Tierney. Lifting it in behind for the runner Martinelli. The weight's just right. The pullbacks come off Lacroix. And it will stay in. With Rice towards the corner flag. Last touch off Munoz. And that'll be a throw-in. Taken quickly by Rice to turn it. On his right foot. Delivering it to the far post towards Saka. Easily caught by Henderson. And he'll just take a little bit of time with this, Dean Henderson. Just trying to diffuse some of this Arsenal momentum. We've hit minute 19. 8 added on. Where have they got 8 from? I know we had a VAR stoppage for a disallowed goal for Arsenal at 3-1. I don't remember anyone being down with a lengthy injury. 8 minutes seems a bit excessive, but we'll take it. Extra football and a bit more time for Palace to maybe get a winner to give Liverpool the league title. Not been in front tonight, Palace. I think that's very important to say. Liverpool haven't really had one hand on the title as of tonight in terms of, having that C next to their name. They could have it soon. Mateta, low ball into the box. Well blocked by Saliba and cleared away. It was Sarr, the one trying to shoot towards goal. Vital block. Rice has his ball deflected out of play. Throwing for the Gunners. Munoz with the high ball, with the flick on to Mateta, who beat Kivior to it. Got the low ball in. And then Arsenal's in other end. Martinelli, left-footed. That is quite simply pretty awful there from Martinelli. Did not get his left foot around the ball. And he's usually better than that, Gabriel Martinelli. Yeah, 8 minutes just seems a bit excessive. I don't know where they've got 8 minutes from. Like I say, that VAR check probably took, 3 minutes max? Unless I know my memory can be pretty poor sometimes, short term, but I don't know where they've got 8 from. And it's Sarr on the right wing. They're asking for handball. Arsenal not giving ball to the far post. It's just gone beyond Tyreek Mitchell, who will chase it down and keep it alive for Palace. That was not far away at all. 6 minutes of the added on time to go. Back it goes to Dean Henderson because they want to keep possession here, Crystal Palace. I think they fancy a win here. Henderson, big kick forward, in behind. It's too big. Too big of a kick straight through for the other goalkeeper of David Raya. He rolls out to William Saliba. Missing that out-and-out goal scorer, aren't they, Arsenal? Havertz, their top scorer this year in the Premier League with 9 goals. And he's still injured and been injured for a while. Looking like he could return next month, potentially. Definitely need to sign a number 9 in the summer, Arsenal. Absolutely crying out for one. Maybe the likes of an Ollie Watkins, who could be available from Aston Villa. Kamada takes it off Nwaneri. And it comes off Nwaneri from a Sarr pass. And it deflects through for Dean Henderson. Oh, just under 5 minutes left of this game. Still 2-2 and still time for Palace to win Liverpool the league. Long ball and it's a header away from Saliba, throwing on the near side, midway side the Arsenal half here for Palace, who have lost the last 2 against Arsenal this season. And they've lost the last 6 in a row against them. Could be ending that rot of defeats against Arsenal tonight with a draw, but they'll want the win. Throwing down the line, works his way to Esse. Comes off Tierney, throwing in the final third this time for Palace. And there'll be a throw-in taken by their Colombian Jefferson Lerma, who's never ever won against Arsenal in his career in his previous 8 meetings against the Gunners for Crystal Palace and Bournemouth. It's going to be a longer throw in here from Lerma towards the near post. In it goes to the near post. It bounces and it deflects off Gay. It's a goal kick for Arsenal. Not very effective, that long throw there. As Raya goes short to Saliba. And the ball's returned to Raya. Need to get a move it here, Arsenal, because they're going to draw again for the 6th time at the Emirates. It's a lot of draws. Too many. Hence why Liverpool are so close to wrapping up this league title. Kivior on halfway. Time on the ball. Working out wide here to Tierney. Inside for Rice. Good ball that from Tierney. Rice to Martinelli. Needs to do something with it here, the Brazilian. Goes back to Kivior. Just a bit too slow there. Here's Martinelli once more. Into the middle of the park here to Saliba. Goes to his right to Timber. Less than 3 to play. Saka. Has to go back into Timber on the angle. Across to Saliba. Forward to Partey. Back out wide to Timber. Forward for Saka. Timber overlaps him. Saka goes back instead to Nwaneri. Then into Kivior from afar. Does he fancy the strike? No, he doesn't. Slips it through for Martinelli in the box. Right-footed ball to the far post towards Saka. Headed towards goal. And behind for a goal kick. And there's an offside flag up there anyway on Bukayo Saka. And it remains 2-2 with just over 2 minutes to play. A draw for Arsenal will put them on 67 points after 34 games played. Just Manchester City 6 points behind them. And they've had a very poor season to their standards. There's a long ball from Henderson flicked on by Mateta straight through for Raya, who throws it out to the left here to Tierney. 90 seconds left here for Arsenal to make something happen. Doesn't look likely, but it's not beyond the realms of possibilities for Arsenal. Nwaneri towards the halfway line. Can he conjure up some magic for the home side? Kivior goes to this near side to Tierney. Down the line, kicked off Munoz. Throwing for Arsenal. Just over a minute left to play. Tierney throws it to Nwaneri, who's drifted to the left-hand side. Plays it across to Saliba. It's now with Partey. Lifting it out wide right towards Timber. Headed away by Mitchell. Drops here for Sarr. Chips up towards Mateta up front, loses out to Saliba. Partey falls backwards to Saliba, 40 seconds to go. Partey just beyond the halfway line, allowed to bring the ball forward 10 yards. Then possibly 15. Plays it out wide here to Saka. Onto his left foot, puts it in towards the edge of the box. Header won by Munoz, always going to win that header. Kivior, as Arsenal go again. Rice. Trossard on the edge of the area. Can he get a crossing? Turns away from Lerma. Crosses in right-footed and Henderson will collect with an easy catch. And that will more than likely be that at the Emirates. As Dean Henderson keeps the ball in his hands as the Arsenal fans start to depart. Ball kicked in the air and the referee blows the whistle. And at full time here at the Emirates, it's Arsenal 2. Crystal Palace 2. It does end a 6-game winning run for Arsenal against Crystal Palace. And a point, again, just simply isn't good enough. Liverpool now will more than likely go on and win the Premier League on Sunday. 12 points is the gap. And Arsenal only have 4 minutes left to play. So if Liverpool just avoid defeat against Spurs on Sunday, they'll be crowned Premier League champions for the 2nd time in their history. It was a game that started well for Arsenal. 3rd minute, Jakub Kivior with a headed goal. Really poor marking from an Ødegaard cross from a free kick. But from the goal down, even though it was only 3 minutes in, Palace responded really well and probably felt harsh to go behind at the break. They did get an equaliser 27 minutes in with Abera Eze with an unbelievable right-footed volley off the post from the edge of the area, assisted from a corner from Adam Wharton. But right before the break, Leandro Trossard against the run of play got Arsenal back in front. It was a deflected strike into the bottom right corner. couldn't be kept out by Leandro Trossard. Arsenal came out second half looking the better side, but Palace was always looking like they could potentially score, and they did with a man who came off the bench, Jean-Philippe Mateta, scoring once again at the Emirates. Scored here earlier on in the season in the League Cup quarter-final, but this one meant a lot because it got them that equaliser that they needed to get this point at the Emirates Stadium. It was a giveaway from Saliba. Raya was off his line and just clipped it underneath the crossbar and in from Mateta. And Arsenal just never ever looked like getting the winner towards the end of that game. A lot of possession, but not really a lot to show for it. And as the referee blew the whistle, we have finished here at the Emirates Stadium. It's Arsenal 2, Crystal Palace 2. And although it doesn't mean that Liverpool have won the league tonight, they can most certainly go on and win it on Sunday as long as they avoid defeat. Hope you enjoyed. Great commentaries, mate. Thank you very much. If you did enjoy, make sure you do like and subscribe if you have not already. And here at the Emirates, it does finish a disappointing result for Arsenal. But I personally, on the whole scheme of on the whole run of play, genuinely, and in terms of chances created, I'd probably say Palace were the better side. Arsenal looked quiet, and you know what? What was worrying about Arsenal's performance was the big name players were quiet. Rice looked non-existent. Ødegaard wasn't really involved that much. Trossard, I know he scored, but didn't get on the ball too much. He was dropping very deep a lot of the time because he was just getting starved of much service. So a little bit of a worrying performance for Arsenal as they've got to host PSG in 6 days' time. Hopefully they can turn it on a little bit more for that game and turn up a bit more compared to this game where they were held to a 2-2 draw. But for Arteta, a lot of work to do in the next 6 days. For Oliver Glasner, it's a quick turnaround for them as they play at Wembley in 3 days' time in the semi-final against Aston Villa. They're looking to try and win their first ever FA Cup. But tonight, they drew against the team with the most FA Cups in Arsenal. It was an early lead for Arsenal, pegged back by Eze with a brilliant goal. Took the lead again before half-time with Trossard. An equaliser late on off the bench by Mateta. And it means here at the Emirates, it's finished all square with Arsenal 2, Crystal Palace 2.